A very good morning to everyone and welcome to the second edition of the India Startup Festival 2023 here at Sathya Grama. As we pay our respects to Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, founder Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence, we extend a hearty welcome to all the dignitaries, Mr. J. Chaudhary Garu, key architect of the Indian tech industry. He's also the chairperson and convener of the India Startup Festival. We also take this opportunity to welcome our guest of honor, Mr. Vineet Rai, founder of Avishkar Group, and many other esteemed dignitaries present here. We invite Sadguru and all the dignitaries to kindly inaugurate the exhibition stalls. After a successful venture last year, this year, we are happy to announce that we have more than 100 stalls here at the Premamrutham auditorium. These include exhibitors of startups in various areas, product-based innovations in edutech, medtech, fintech, and agritech, among others. We also have stalls of sponsors and various universities from all over India. A big round of applause as Sadguru is graciously inaugurating the exhibition stalls. The India Startup Festival is truly an amalgamation and a melting point of entrepreneurial minds, with more than 500 CEOs and CXOs, over 500 delegates who have registered, more than 200 jury members and eminent key speakers, volunteers, a total of 2,000 plus participants in the three-day event here. now proceed with Day 1 agenda of the keynote sessions for this morning. May I invite Ms. Jyoti and Ms. Rashmi to kindly take over. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. May I request all dignitaries, delegates to please have a seat so we can start with the session. May I request all the guests to please have seats so we can start with the session. May I request Prashant Prakash Garu to please come near to the stage. Prashant Prakash Garu. Request everyone to please settle down. Thank you. Yeah.
Request all of you to please be seated, and I would also request all of the startups and the stall volunteers to please move in and take your seat. I would also request people outside the hall to please walk in. Request all the exhibitors also to move in and grab your seat. The exhibitors, could I request you to please walk into to the chairs and grab your seat?
I know, that's what I was thinking. Thank you.
I'll do this. I'll do this.
request everyone to please settle down. We are going to start our session in few minutes. Good morning all. A warm welcome to Indian Startup Festival 2023 happening in Muddenahalli, blessed, divine blessing by Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai. I am Nagajyoti Osingi. I am a senior engineering manager in Wells Fargo. I am here as a volunteer from ISF. And I have my co-host with me, Rashmi Kumar.
A very good morning, everyone. Can we get some energy? I'm sure it's been a long wait. That's what every entrepreneur goes through also, and that is what we want to break here. So let's start the day with great energy and then get going. Are you all ready? You will be witnessing a lot of learning, lot of experience, and lot of new ideas. So welcome to the Startup Festival, India Startup Festival 2023, and a very warm welcome from the organizing team, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you. My name is Rashmi. I am the CEO of Decode Consulting Services, and also a Chief Strategy Officer of Technogen Inc.
Thank you, Rashmi. Let's look at high-level agenda for today. We have a packed agenda, so let's make sure that we get most out of it. We are going to start keynote sessions. We have experienced speakers here on the dais. While this is happening in Premamrutham, please note that we are also having startup pitches, a competition which is going in another building, Krupa Shreyas. So just to give a context, we had around 10,000 startups which enrolled for this startup pitch competition. Out of 10,000, there is a lot of hard work which went in from ISF team. Today we have 100 top startups which are again competing. We will know winners later part of the day. So these are the two events which are going in parallel.
I'm sure all of you here, we have distinguished guests, we have startup entrepreneurs, we have serial entrepreneurs, we have successful entrepreneurs, we have investors, we have HNIs, and we have some wannabe entrepreneurs also. And all of these sessions that we have put together has been kept in mind that you are here and we want you to take utmost advantage of it. Post the keynote session, post lunch is the area or is the time when you get to see all the different investors who have come across from all over the world for India Startup Festival 2023.
While these things are going on, please don't miss one session that we have, which is called as Masterclass for CXO by Ramcharan Garu. It is going to happen in the same building. So please don't miss that session.
And once you have done all the learning, then what do we have, Jyoti?
Wow. We still have a fireside chat from Sadguru Garu. Make sure that you are available in the hall. So let's listen from Sadguru, and then we also have award ceremony for all startup winners. But I think what Rashmi is mentioning is beyond that. Rashmi, I think it is high time that you share that information.
Once you do all the learning, and definitely we have the startups who have won the session or won for the contest today, we really want to celebrate. And who do we have for that? We have Sai Symphony Orchestra that's going to perform for us, and trust me, I was part of the rehearsals and they are amazing. That's going to be our highlight for the day today as well. So be ready, tighten up your seatbelts and get set, go. Are you in for this?
Yeah.
All right, so with that, let me take this opportunity to introduce the brain behind India Startup Festival. He was Special Chief Secretary to the Andhra Pradesh government, head of several global industry forums like FICCI, AmCham, TIE, HICIA. He was the chairman of STPI for Hyderabad, Chennai, and Bangalore, founder and India Managing Director for global technology companies. He co-founded TalentSprint, a leading edtech company in India. He also co-founded Portal Player, which was acquired by NVIDIA Corporation, a company that designed the core chip and software that powered iPods for Apple. Currently, he is the chairman of blockchain community at Bureau of Indian Standards. He is also the co-founder of India Startup Festival 2023, an entrepreneur, an innovator, an angel investor, and the industry leader. Please put your hands together to invite Mr. J. Chaudhary Garu to set the context for ISF. And I would also like to proudly say that he is the man behind most of us being part of this forum, including me. Thank you, J. Garu.
Good morning to all of you. I really want to thank both Vineet Roy and Prashant Prakash. They are all very busy venture capitalists. In fact, many startup companies, particularly early stage startup companies, they told me, sir, we want to meet Vineet or Prashant Prakash. It's very difficult for them to meet. Today they are available here. In fact, I was telling Prashant just inside when we met Swamiji that a lot of startups wants to meet you, that we will have a MOU with India Startup Festival. whichever startup that I'll bring to you, please give us some time. In principle is agreed. Same request I have with Vineet Roy also. So that's what India Startup Festival is all about. See, we normally for a small startup company with a limited money, he will be able to bring the product and he doesn't know how to really take it to the next level. He doesn't know how to convince the venture capitalists to put money in their companies. So many of them, they keep going around with a limited money. Ultimately, they will all get into the so-called startup death valley. So that's where I request both the pillars of the India's startup ecosystem, the very successful venture capitalists, they are all going to tell about the success stories, how they are able to help the startup ecosystem in the country, and going forward, how they are going to help the India Startup Festival startup companies through their startup ecosystem. With this, I really want to thank all the great leaders who have come, investors, angel investors, venture capitalists, and HNIs, and market leaders, the big MNC India heads, they're all here, including I see some former bureaucrats, the Director General of Telangana State, Mahinda Reddy is also here. So many such stalwarts are here, and this is the great opportunity for all the startup companies to meet with them and explore the possibilities of, because every individual who have reached that level, they have their own network. So connecting the dots is very, very important. For a small startup company, they will not have that network. So go and meet with them and exchange your business idea so that you'll be able to get connected to that ecosystem. That is the success formula. So with this, I really want to thank all of you for gracing the India Startup Festival 23. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay Garu. With that, let's start our keynote sessions. Let me invite Murali Ulaganti Garu, founder and chairman, People Shore. People Shore is a public benefit corporation with a mission to empower underemployed young adults in underserved communities. People Shore is operating currently from 4 outsourcing centers within US. Before it, he is also a founder and director of Rural Shores. Rural Shores is, again, it focuses on how to get technology-enabled jobs for rural youth. So that's another organization that he has successfully run. His work is much appreciated. He received several awards, including prestigious Edison Award for Innovation. In ISF event, one of our core theme for this session is we want to look at rural development. I felt like this is the best way, what is the better way to invite Murali, because he is coming from that focus of rural development. With that, I request Murali Garu to come onto the dais. I request technology team to please showcase the presentation.
Good morning, or rather, I don't know. Yeah, good morning still. So, what is a good way to start? By showcasing, as you know, as we embark on this 3-day event, Startup Festival, which has a theme of rural innovation and rural entrepreneurship, wanted to showcase one initiatives that is actually launched by Bhagwan Baba in 2008 and continued the legacy and the mission been continued by Sadguru, is called Rural Shows and People Shows. Rural Shows is all about generating the livelihood for the rural youth by creating business process outsourcing centers in the communities itself and bring the work to that centers, outsourced work, and take the rural youth, train them, and give them jobs. So that is the whole concept of rural shows. Right? So the whole idea is, Baba's concept is, rather than bringing the people to the jobs, why not bring the jobs to the people, is all in the training. Why can't we train them? Plus, there's a connectivity available now in the rural communities. So leverage that to bring the work to the rural areas so that they can stay where they are, take care of the families, and improve the quality of the living standards, and also maintain the sanctity of the rural India. So that was the whole idea. With that, we started this initiative. I don't know who is controlling the slides. Yeah, no? Yeah, next one. So with that, we started in 2008. And the first center started here in Bagyapalli. We're not too far from here, which is about 40 miles from here. And Baba himself came to inaugurate the center. Which one? Yeah. So Baba himself inaugurated that center in 2008. Today, we have 12 centers spread across 8 states. And we have more than now 21,000 rural youth built their professional career paths through rural shows. They come, work, join, gain the skills, work for a few years, and then move up to become managers, leaders, and all. So and we have now more than 35,000 people have been skilled as well. And these people, folks, rural youth, are delivering work for marquee brand clients globally. As you see, some of the names, such as Amazon, American Express, EY, all these ones, both global and domestic corporates, doing amazing work and delivering high quality service. In the service levels are no less than what the companies otherwise would contract with companies like Accenture, Infosys, or Wipro. Same level of quality being delivered from these centers. And the rural stores has received many recognition and awards globally, and is also been a case study by Harvard and Stanford University, as well as the IIM Bangalore, and also been featured in New York Times, LA Times, and all these ones, plus received awards globally. And here are the pictures of the centers that we have across the country. Some of the pictures, not all of them, of the centers. Just to give you a visual idea of what it looked like. Now, 4 years ago, about 45 years ago, Sadguru Madhusudan Sai asked me to take this initiative to the US, replicate the same thing in underserved communities in the US. These are rural, economically challenged rural communities, as well as the inner cities as well, to mainly support the minorities communities in that country, which are African Americans, Latinx, and Hispanics. So the mission started in 2017. Today, we have 4 centers already established, and 2 of them in rural communities like Arkansas and Mississippi, and 2 of them inner cities like Brooklyn, New York, and also DeKalb in Georgia. And we have now, and here are the pictures of those centers and how they look and the people, and again, we have a marquee brand clients like Morgan Stanley, Fidelity Information Services, Blue Cross, outsource their work to us to manage the work from these centers. So they're doing a high-end quality work from these centers, just like in rural shows in India. So with that, just to give you, I wanted to give you a sense of these initiatives. The beauty of these initiatives is they're all social enterprises set up as for-profit social enterprises. In the US, in fact, we could register our people shows as public benefit corporation, which is a legal structure for social enterprises. In the US, we don't have, in India, we don't have equivalent one, so it is set up as a private limited, but the purpose takes the precedence over profit. It's a purpose-driven initiative with the commercial principles, but the profits are plowed back to scale the initiative. So that's in a nutshell. With that, there's a booth there, stall there, where both people shows and rural shows are featured. And we have our colleagues there, happy to answer any questions you may have. So please take time to visit. But the most important task that has been given to me is to introduce the two distinguished guests on the dais here, my good friend Vinit Roy and Prashant Prashant Prakash. I was getting confused between which one is first name. So there's two. And obviously they are very, as J. Garu mentioned, they're highly accomplished professionals, entrepreneurs, and they also nurtured many entrepreneurs. So it'll be a tough task to do justice to their background and introduction, but I'll give you a small synopsis of in my own words. So first, I would like to introduce you to Vinit Rai. He is a dear friend of mine and also is what is known as father of impact investment in India. He is the one who started this Avishkar group and in 2001 when nobody knew, even not only in India, globally also, impact investment was not even defined as was not even coined at that point. But he started along with his wife, Swati Roy, they started this Avishkar group, and since then they have not only invested but nurtured numerous social entrepreneurs in the country, be it microfinance companies or similar to rural shows and in many spectrum. So there are a number of companies grown with the help of Vinit personally, Vinit and his team's support, with not only capital but also the mentorship, the advisory and all other ones. They really scaled, some of them even listed in the stock exchange, such as Woodcutt's Microfinance. So an amazing job that Vinit has done. He is regarded as a father of this impact investment, not only in India, but globally. Anywhere impact investment means his name has to come up, And he is not only doing that initiatives in India, but also in Africa and other parts of Asia. And obviously, Vinit has received many, many awards and recognitions globally. I mean, I cannot list any of them because if I do, I'll be taking all the Vinit's time instead, his speaking time. Then I'll introduce Prashant Prakash, who is a managing partner at Axel, formerly is known as Axel Partners. Axel, which is an American venture capital firm. They also invest in early stage and also growth stage the enterprises. And at Axel, he led many investments, including the ones Book My Show and AgroStar and many others. Prashant started his investing career like Vinit very early stage, is in 2004 as a co-founder of Erasmic, one of India's first early stage funds in India. And Prashant holds a master's degree in computer science from the University of Delaware. So once again, please give a big round of applause and welcome Prashant and Vinit to the event, and we request Vinit to come and say a few words.
Good. Still continues to be good morning, so good morning to all of you. When Dr. Chaudhary asked me to come here and talk to you, and he mentioned entrepreneurship, rural India, and investing, and he said, you can add impact investing, I reflected on my 20 years. So I started my journey as an entrepreneur / investor in 2001. And one of the things that I was doing at that point of time was trying to convince the world that entrepreneurship could be a solution to the challenges that rural India faces. And you have to go back to 2000 to understand how wild that idea was. Just to give you a context, Indian economy on a whole was less than $500 billion, and we are now close to 3.5, 3.7 trillion. The rural economy was significantly smaller at few hundred billions. Today, and today's context is very important, the rural economy has reached close to $1 trillion in its own. So it's not really about what you can do for rural India, but what you can gain from rural India. It's large enough and larger than most economies in the world. Our 65% population still lives in rural India. You will be surprised that 20 million enterprises are non-farm based enterprises in rural India. That's more than all enterprises in urban India. 16 million is what you have in urban India. From the time when I started and where we stand today, 90% of the roads or access to rural India is metalled, and roughly everywhere you can find access to internet and mobile. Now these are significant changes from the time that I started off, yet there are challenges and opportunities. The opportunity comes from scale. $1 trillion is a large scale, but the challenges comes along, very fragmented, very small wallet size, a concept that most investors think about when you are working with a certain community. Do you have the right size of the wallet? The wallet size is very small. And all these actually creates a very conducive environment for technology to play a very large role if you want to transform rural India. And I think that's where the opportunity lies, and that's where the excitement for those who are entrepreneurs and those who are investors both lie. For me personally, I genuinely believe entrepreneurship is not an option. Today, a lot of people think you can become a doctor, you can become an engineer, or you can become an entrepreneur. They treat it as an option. Unfortunately, I just wanted to let those who are thinking about it as an option, that it's not an option. It's a choice you make, and along with the good comes the bad. Unfortunately, the bad is significantly and upward. So you get it up, and you get it for long. So some of the challenges of entrepreneurship, those who are starting at the early stage, it's one place where there is no guarantee, and uncertainty is your consistent companion. So you have to keep it in mind. Unlike a job, there is no guarantees here. But along with it, the upsides are the joy of being alone, the joy of leading something, being free, being a disruptor and a decision maker. I made my choice in 2001. I'm a forester by training. I got introduced to rural India, and I was convinced taking capital to rural India is the right way to go. I started with 5,000 rupees of personal capital and struggled very badly. You don't really see foresters actually trying to raise capital. It was difficult to convince the world to give me money. But then I think honesty, transparency, integrity as conditions allowed people to participate in what I was doing. So I started with 5,000 rupees, borrowed 1 lakh rupee, and then reached 5 crore in 2005. And since then, our journey has struck us to around 12,000 odd crores in terms of capital assets under management. We have invested in 75 companies. And all this we have done while trying to use entrepreneurship as a link to bring about change. Not only do we actually reach out to a large number of people and employ ourselves 10,000 odd people, but we also actually have impacted through the investments we have made roughly 10 crore individuals across India, Southeast Asia, and Africa. Generally, I normally meet an entrepreneur, I ask, what is it that you are doing? A large number of people are trying to copy what others are doing in the world. But I think there are enough problems around you, and it is important for entrepreneurs to look at a purpose that would lead them to a problem. And once you find a problem, generally if you are in India, you will build a very scalable business. I'll give you 2 quick examples. I met a young couple in 2010, and they came with a very simple example. They came to me and said, nobody in India produces pomegranate to export. Pomegranate is anar, in case those who don't know. So in 2010 of India, we exported 0 pomegranates. We used to produce them, but we used to export 0 pomegranate. In 2022, we export 1,000 crores worth of pomegranates. This gentleman and his wife, This is an IIT Kanpur computer engineers. He's actually an IIM Calcutta gold medalist, and he has built an enterprise and made massive difference to the lives of people by exporting pomegranates. Now, that's really purpose with profit and creating value for the people. Similarly, in 2013, I met a young entrepreneur who wanted to solve India's waste problem without taking money from the government. I gave him 3 crores. As happens with all young entrepreneurs, he lost that money very quickly due to a fire incident which happened. But we continue to back him and support him. And today, as I stand here, this gentleman is treating 600 tons of dry waste every day and converting it into wealth without having government paying anything to him. Now that's, to me, solving a problem with purpose. As I said, technology is very important and very critical, and it is therefore amazing to see how farmers and individuals and people coming from farming background have used technology to solve India's farmers' problem. I was part of the Prime Minister's task force on doubling the farmers' income, and we were asked continuously, can you give an example where you doubled the farmer income? So I'll take you and give you a story of a farmer or a son of a farmer who met me in Samastipur in Bihar. He came up with a very crude idea. He said, farmers don't have cash, they have grains, and I want to build a grain bank. And I want to build a grain bank where I will digitize grain. And I thought it was really a mumbo-jumbo idea. But given the context, given the challenge of where it was, we gambled with $500,000. Today, this guy just transformed India's, and he's actually operating in Karnataka now from Bihar. He crossed 200 crores as revenue. In a period of 10 years, digitizing grain actually can deliver farmer the income that they are generating, 70% of that instantly, and have a track record now of 6 years to continuously demonstrate 1.3 to 1.6 times increase in farmers' income every 6 months, not doubling. Similarly, there is another company called AgroStar, which has become a significant name in the idea of transforming the lives of the farmers. Something where Prashant and I actually have jointly worked over a period of time. Now, to those entrepreneurs who are here and who are actually thinking of building large corporations, one thing that I would really like to impress upon is the idea of governance. I know a lot of you think governance is for the investor, for somebody else. Let me assure you, governance is the protection for yourself. Remember, you are dealing with capital which doesn't belong to you. And therefore, a good sound governance helps and protects you from the risks that you don't know of. Building a business is not really about just making money. Building a business is about also buying credibility for yourself. So really think about it. The second thing which I'm very, very particular, and entrepreneurs don't like it, valuation is not value. Please do understand that. Remember, Prashant and I are not idiots that we will keep giving you big valuations. We slip in a clause called liquidation preference, which essentially means that when the downside happens, you get nothing. So if you genuinely believe that the valuation you have got is actually a great thing, please read your contracts carefully. Focus on building profitable, sustainable ventures, not necessarily valuation-seeking values. You may get yourself in Forbes, but it may not necessarily make you rich. I'll repeat again to the entrepreneurs, honesty, transparency, integrity is the only way to buy credibility. And once you buy credibility, your ingenuity can be put to right use. Do not allow yourself to be cheated. Finally, for entrepreneurs, see capital as an option. Entrepreneurship is a choice, but capital is an option. If you know and you have an idea to bootstrap, bootstrap. If you can't, raise capital, but make your choice for the right venture capitalist, impact investor, or the private equity. Remember that it is our job to buy into your dream. It is not my dream that you are investing or you are building on. It is your dream, your vision, your idea. We are the cheerleaders. Don't make us decision makers. For the investors, I know some of you are investors, and I can tell you that in India, specifically in this country, capital today is just a commodity. So if you have only capital to offer, this is not a great place to be an investor. Patience is a virtue. This applies both to entrepreneurs and investors. I would request you to really test your patience capability. This country tests you a lot. It rewards you, but first it tests you. So be patient, otherwise don't come here. To those who are chasing unicorn, remember that unicorn is a myth. It is a myth. So don't genuinely believe and try to see how many unicorns you have in your portfolio. It may vaporize as fast as it comes. So don't get too excited if you have unicorns in your portfolio. Understand what founder-friendly means. There are many different contexts to it. And those who are very excited about actually being on the board, understand board is a responsibility. It is not a privilege. So when you choose to be on the board, take yourself seriously. Just don't make it just because you have given somebody money. I started my career because I wanted to make poor rich. It's a funny statement to make poor rich. Now you will see, when will a poor become rich? Well, you become rich when you create choices for the poor. And I think in this room, the entrepreneurs and those at the back, you have the great opportunity to actually create choices for the poor by being ingenious. India has actually the capability to transform itself. And a beautiful way, Sustainable Development Goals, some of you may have heard of them, some of you not. 193 governments of the world came together to sign in 2015 what is known as Sustainable Development Goals. These are goals that G20 also enshrine and support. And these are goals that essentially imagine a world like we have never seen before. A world without hunger, without poverty, without inequity. Your ingenuity, your ideas, your capital can contribute in building a world that actually is without hunger, without poverty, without inequity in your lifetime. So do try to contribute to it. Thank you so much.
I think this is fine. Can I have the presentation? Yeah. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and a very special privilege to share the dais with two impact investors that I really respect, and I've drawn a lot of inspiration from them, and it's these stalwarts that have shown the way for impact investing in India, and we who have come from slightly the more commercial side, if you may want to call, of investing, took a leaf from what they have done and have tried to participate in them. And I would like to also mention that I'm from this place. So this is my Karma Bhumi, this district where we are all seated. So it's a special honor for me to be here, and I think we are really privileged, at least I'm really privileged to share the same space or location with Sadguru. So that's a little bit of my own personal connection here. So I think Vineet gave you a little bit of a kind of a primer on what it takes to be an entrepreneur, what should you look at when you want to be an entrepreneur, and what it takes to be an entrepreneur in this country. So I'll probably give you a little bit of a high-level view of the ecosystem. So we started investing in India in 2004 as Erasmic, and it was one of the first technology funds in India. There was no technology funds in India in those days. In fact, I remember the early days, we would get one business plan a month, and that's probably one a second in India today. So there's, between 2004 and now, there's really a big transformation, and recognized now as the second largest startup ecosystem anywhere in the world. we have really come of age, and that is a big opportunity, like Vineet said, right? So when you imagine an entrepreneur in 2006 and an entrepreneur today, right? So you're really, in that sense, in a much better place to take advantage of what India has to offer. And there's better digital infrastructure, there's better physical infrastructure, there's better mentors, there's more capital. So I don't think there's a better time and a better place and a better country to be an entrepreneur than where you are today. In fact, I believe that the last decade, what we have seen is just, I think, the early part of our journey as a startup nation. I think the next 10 years is when you will really see a lot of this pervade to every part of the country. So I think you can see the presentation there. I think we have been through a good cycle. You know, from the days from Vineet started in the early 2000 and I started in 2000, when there was hardly any capital. So what really changed in 2008 is the Flipkart event, right? So what did Flipkart, so when we invested in Flipkart, I think the common belief was that you can build companies in India, but they really can't become very large. You know, it takes 20, 30 years to build large companies in this country. Right, so what Sachin, and in fact we are very fortunate that the first real role models in this country were somebody like Sachin and Bini, who could execute not only as great technology platform builders, but who could also become exemplary operational executors, right? So it's very rare to find a entrepreneurial team like Sachin and Bini that built not one company, but actually 3 companies at the same time. They built the e-commerce company, the logistics company, and the payment company. Of course, the payment ecosystem that they built, which is PhonePe right now, is a big giant in itself. So I think that where we went slightly overboard, I think is when we thought that everybody can become a Flipkart. And I think that's the moment that we now have kind of come to understand and recognize that not, like what Vineet said, not everybody should aspire to become a unicorn. And I don't think becoming the unicorn is the North Star for everybody. I think the real North Star is, are you building value? And I think scale is important. So I think where we have to really, change from the first generation and the second generation, and now what I would call as the third real decade of entrepreneurship, is I think we have to learn from the past 2 decades, and we have to understand that scale is important. There are, of course, multiple, I'm not saying that, only scaling is the only solution, but I think if you want to raise venture money, if you want to raise capital, and if you want to really go big, then I think you are really building our startups and getting to scale, but in a very managed manner. Historically, I think the urban consumer ecosystem is what really the last decade has been about, right? Whether it's fintech products, whether it is healthcare products, consumer e-commerce products, they've all been for urban India. And it's in the last few years that Vineet spoke about how, agri-tech entrepreneurs, B2B entrepreneurs, climate tech, and some of these other spaces have now started to really come of age, right? So I think entrepreneurship has become a lot more broad-based, and which is great for a country like ours, because I don't think it should be just a phenomena that is linked to only the top 20, 30, 40 million. If those were the only consumers for our startups, then I don't think we can build 10,000 or 1,000,000 startups in this country. Agri-tech, I think Vineet spoke about agri-tech, so I'll not speak a little, I'll just mention a little bit here that if you need to really have one space that intersects rural entrepreneurship and the India opportunity, it is agri-tech. And when I say agri-tech, it is multiple aspects of agri-tech. It is everything from helping the farmer on what to grow and how to grow, and mechanisms on organizing the farming ecosystem. It is the rural retail ecosystem and the areas like Vineet spoke about, global demand and solving for global food security. I think all of these are great opportunities. I think as a nation we have punched way below our capacity in terms of agriculture, and I'm a strong believer that if entrepreneurship is going to become more secular and impact more people, then we got to learn to make agri-entrepreneurship work in this country. And the good news is it's becoming more mainstream. So there's a lot more capital coming into agri-tech as a space. So I think it's a right time to really become an agri-entrepreneur and look at the multitude of opportunities that exist there. I think agri is, and working with agri-entrepreneurship is one aspect, but I think consumption in rural India is itself very large. So we are talking about whether it's food or products, other products that are consumed in rural India, they are in hundreds of billions. So while we know that there is a $500 billion consumption in urban India, I think there is an equally large opportunity in what we call as Bharat. And here there's a little bit of insight that I would like to share. I think a lot of the VC ecosystem now believes it is time to move beyond urban India. And there is a strong conviction that the next unicorn, just to give it some color of scale, the next set of unicorns are not going to come from urban India. It is very difficult to build the next Flipkart. It is very difficult to build the next Swiggy. So don't try that in urban India, right? There is a lot of untapped opportunities and there's a lot of untapped potential in serving rural consumers, and there are great examples like you see here, and I will share the presentation with the organizers here, and you can look at some of these, and these are companies that are getting to the 500 to 1,000 crores in revenue. They're not small anymore, right? So the first generation of rural entrepreneurs, like the ones Vineet experienced, took 10 years, 15 years to build the first 100 crores. We are seeing entrepreneurs like Wilcart build 500 crores in less than 5 years. That is not any slower than what we have seen in urban India. So this is a big takeaway. I think the opportunity landscape is shifting. The investor interest is shifting. I think it is up to you to capture this kind of virtuous sweet spot that we are kind of getting into. Climate tech, I think Vineet spoke a little bit about SDGs. I think SDGs were something that everybody believed would happen, but I think the climate realities has forced everybody to kind of rethink and recommit in the last 2 to 3 years, including our nation. I think this is an opportunity, a global opportunity that is as big as the IT services space, as big as the healthcare exports that, the pharma exports that came out of India. I think everything that I believe we will build to mitigate and to transform and transition ourselves in this climate economy will all be applicable globally. So I think we had the whole SaaS opportunity of building in India for the rest of the world. We had the whole B2B kind of opportunities of building businesses in India and for the rest of the world. I think climate tech is the next huge space where we can build carbon mitigation and carbon big space around recycling. But unfortunately, there is nothing wrong about, recycling, but we have made a very small impact with recycling globally. We have just not been able to move enough product that we consume back into the circular value chain. What is the solution? The solution is to invent, innovate, and redesign what we consume. And I think here is where I believe that we have what I would believe like two very large disrupting benefits that will accrue value to us as entrepreneurs, and a lot of them in rural. One is to be able to build sustainable materials from agri-waste. If you are going to build if you're going to build sustainable and compostable materials, I don't think there's a better place than India to build, because you have almost free raw material. I think it's very early days. We need more entrepreneurs, more capital that needs to go into this space. But Accel and many funds have really committed themselves to this space, and we think the next $500 million, $1 billion opportunities are going to come from providing these materials for the consumptive West. So the global South, I think, will provide solutions for the global North and for solutions for ourselves to mitigate in this journey. So I'll probably stop here because I can go on, but I just wanted to give you a very high level idea on some of the areas that I would like to leave you with this idea that manufacturing has not changed in this country for the last 30 to 40 years. I think the services opportunity, the India consumption opportunities have kind of been tapped largely, but there are, like we spoke about, still some opportunities. But I think as entrepreneurs, you will see a new diversification of supply chains that will allow you to build manufacturing supply from India to the rest of the world like never before. So, so it's not necessarily going to be just about software and SaaS from India to the rest of the world, but I think it's going to be about building products and really what people call as not only moving bits, but moving atoms. So I think the next generation of entrepreneur, whether it's impact or not impact, is going to be about moving atoms, and not only moving atoms within our country, but for the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Prakash Prasad Garu. May I request Bipin Pendyala to please come on to dais for vote of thanks. I request audience to please stay back. We have a couple of announcements to make for the rest of day's agenda. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with the august audience and the speakers out here. I think it was a great session. I was sitting and listening to everyone, and I think a lot of takeaways. Thank you very much, Murali, for starting and sharing your personal examples of building scalable impact where the rural population can benefit in the longer term. And of course, Vineet, it was brilliant to listen to you, and the framework of purpose and profit that you talked about actually ties in extremely well with the ISF's perspective of looking at building entrepreneurship with ethics and with values. That was, a phenomenally good message. And I think the message that you brought to both importantly about the phenomenal opportunity that the Bharat 2.0, the rural brings. Importantly, about the phenomenal opportunity that the Bharat 2.0, the rural brings up. Once again, a message which ties in extremely closely with the ISF perspective of looking at rural economy, rural agri, and rural fintech. And these are areas where I think you really validated with a lot of data and with your personal experiences. Once again, thank you very much for gracing the occasion and sparing your thoughts and sparing your valuable time with all of us. I would like to request Mr. J. Chaudhary to hand over memento to Vineet Roy. Once again, a very heartfelt thank you, Mr. Vineet. Mr. Chaudhary Garu, please hand over to Prashant Prakash. Thank you very much, Prashant Garu, for your time. Over to you, Rashmi and Jyoti.
We would like to thank Mr. Prashant Prakash and Mr. Vineet Rai for a very insightful keynote address. Okay, we are at that part of the day where we are moving ourselves to get some more energy. We have very sumptuous blessed lunch arranged. Request all of the exhibitors and guests to please move towards to my right of the hall for lunch. And there is a CXO lunch also arranged. Request you to please meet at the breakfast area where we met in the morning. Do not forget, after lunch, we do have a very important session where you get to see all the investors that you have always wanted to see, and also get to meet the HNIs who are here just to listen to you and to hear your pitches. Do not forget, and for this, we are all gathering at the Rajeshwari Medical Block, and we are all gathering there at 1:30 p.m. Please make yourself available after a very good, sumptuous, blessed lunch. Thank you for joining us, and see you after lunch.